Today we're going to be making warm and cool color trees, and we're going to be playing with a new medium. We're going to be playing with oil pastels. Oil pastels work very similar to crayons. They're just a little bit more oilier, so they blend a lot easier when you put one oil pastel on top of another. You could really make colors blend really pretty together, and they are just another fun art tool to play with in creating. And we're also going to be using a white 9x12 piece of paper. I do have a story that can go along with our activity, so if we find that we're finishing early or we want to learn a little bit more about fall and why the trees look the way they do, etc., I have a book that's called Goodbye Summer, Hello Autumn. Now, before we get started, the most important thing I want us to look at today is learning about warm colors and cool colors. On the color wheel, we know that it starts off with the warm colors and then it goes to cool colors. So warm colors are colors that make you think of fall or fire or the sun, and those include red, orange, and yellow. Cool colors are colors that make you feel more like peace or green grass or even water, and those include purple, green, and blue. Are there any colors that stand out to you that you love to use or in your artwork or you like to wear or just your favorite color? And why is that your favorite color? I'd love to hear about that. And now that we know a little bit more about the warm and cool colors, let's go right into our project. Today we're going to be working with oil pastels. And oil pastels are just a little bit more waxier and more fun to work with than a typical crayon. So you'll notice when you're working with it, it might come on your paper a little dry at first, like a crayon would. But then when you take another color and you put on top of it, it starts feeling really smooth. And then it does something really cool. It actually blends, meaning that you might have a reddish yellow or a reddish orange, or you might have a yellow orange. All these colors kind of mixing together as we're creating today. So we talked about warm colors and we've also talked about cool colors. I don't have the green on here because we're just going to stick with these colors that we currently have. But before we begin anything, what we're going to do is draw our landscape. We're going to make larger trees and we're going to make smaller trees, as well as our ground. So what I want us to do is to take out a black marker and we're going to get started in drawing our trees. So the first thing that we want to do is set up our foreground, something that's in the front, right? So what I want you to do is just near the bottom of your paper, do a nice thick line like a hill, like this. And if it comes off a little skinnier, you can always double it up by going over it again and just making it a little bit thicker. Then, a little bit of a ways up, we're going to do another hill, just like we did. So this gives us an idea of everything that is in the front. And now we're going to work on the things like we have the background, but we're going to find our trees for the middle ground. So what I want you to do is choose a spot anywhere on here and you're going to draw your first tree. You can make this one tall or short, and we're going to start by making a nice straight line. What I want you to do then is kind of make your bottom part of the tree a little thicker. The bumpier, the better in your marker. I think it looks more realistic that way. And then what we're going to do is we're going to grow a tree branch. And off of it, you're going to turn it into a Y. And add another little Y. You're going to do the same thing again. I kind of go back over it and make it a little extra bumpy. And I think it looks more realistic to me that way. So you're just going to slowly grow a few more branches like this. And they don't always have to be exact. You could have a few that are pointing downwards, or that have a couple extra coming off of it. You just make little Ys. There's our first tree. Now I want to challenge you to make a small tree. So it's going to look like it's in the distance. So we're going to make this tree a little bit shorter, and I'm going to make it nice and thick at the bottom like I just did. And you're going to do the same thing. But I'm not going to make as many branches because it's further away. It's harder to see all those details. Now I want you to try to make a tall tree. So let's make a really big tall tree. If it goes off your paper, that's okay too. Sometimes I think that gives a really cool look that I'm really close to this tree. And since it's that tall, I need to make the bottom of it nice and thick. You can even give it like a little notch, like a big branch one time fell off of it. It's up to you. If you were close to this tree, you'd be able to see a lot more of the details on it. So that's why it's nice and thick. And I'm going to do the same thing and just add some branches. But I'm going to make these branches a little bit bigger because I'm closer to it. And it's really tall. You can always overlap, like I made this come over it, and you can do that too on yours. There's no wrong way to do this. Now I want you to make 2 more trees over on the right hand side here. Any size that you want. It could be big, it could be medium, it could be small. So take your time and make those 2 trees now. Now that we finished drawing our landscape, you can see it looks pretty bare. It almost looks like it's in the middle of the winter. Well, we're going to give it a little bit of a cool up in color, like a boost. And what we're going to do is we're going to start off with our warm colors. And what I want you to do with your warm colors is grab that yellow first, because it's always easier to make something darker. It's really hard to make something lighter. So if I put a ton of red on my paper, it would be really hard to cover that back up. But if I start with the lightest color, I can always go back in and make things darker and darker as I so choose. Now what we're going to do is on the bottom part here in our foreground, so not the trees, not the background, but our foreground here, I want you to do circles. Just do some crazy circles all over. Lots and lots of circles. Fill up this bottom part with that yellow oil pastel. Next, you're going to grab your orange and you're going to do the same thing. This time you can change your direction of these circles. You could do the same that you did. You could do lots of different ones. You could do some big ones. It's up to you. Whatever you feel, you can overlap and just keep going over and over all of them. Whatever style you want to try and create. And then you're going to grab your red. And with your red, I probably wouldn't do as much. Maybe make it a little bit bigger. And then go back in and grab some yellow and go over it a little bit again. The next thing that you're going to do is you're going to be using your warm colors again to create around your tree. So let's start with the smaller one. We're going to start with a circle and color it in, and then take another color and you're going to draw a circle around it. And then you take your next color. So we're going to be creating our own pattern. You can just draw it like this, where you kind of make it a little bit larger like that and just go over it a little bit in spirals, and this will help it grow a little bit more. So you're going to do it for each of these trees. Now that we've done the larger circles, so we did small tight circles here for our foreground, and in our middle ground we did our trees with the warm colors too. Now we're going to be using our cool colors, and we're going to make tiny little circles all over, all in the background. So think about how you're placing them. Maybe you want to have more purple or more blue, whatever you feel like, and start sprinkling those in as you go. So once you're done, you can always, if you didn't like seeing any of the lines, take a black crayon or a black oil pastel, and you can go back over your trees that you had and it will re-darken them, or you can leave it as is. So it's up to you, but know that however you start with your colors will change it just a little bit. So you'll notice here I started with my blues, and you can see more of the blue shining through, and here on this side I started more with the purple, and you can see some of that all starting to come out. So remember to double check before you take a picture and turn this in that your name is on the back along with your teacher code. Great job, everybody!